Hi everyone, I'm Caje Kindred and welcome to the summary of my poster, Role of Confinement and Coseismic Pulverization of Sediments, Testing the Rock Record of Rupture Directivity on the San Jacinto Fault. This is a SCEC-funded project in collaboration with Dr. Ashley Griffith and Dr. Tom Rockwell. At Rockhouse Canyon, southeast of Vanza, the Clark Fault of the San Jacinto Fault Zone juxtaposes Cretaceous tonalite on the northeastern side against weakly to unconsolidated Pleistocene-Batista Formation sediments on the southwestern side. Werty et al. 2017 describes two fault transects here: an upper transect where Batista sediment and tonalite burial depths are roughly 70 and 660 meters respectively, and a lower transect where burial depths are greater by 50 meters. In Figure 2a, we take a closer look at the lower transect. Batista sediments are weakly sheared until roughly 50 centimeters away from the fault core. However, in figures 2a through c, samples taken from greater distances show a systematic decrease in fracture density with increasing distance from the fault core, as well as a mean orientation orthogonal to the fault trace. Batista sediments collected at the upper transect displayed minimal damage above background levels, prompting Werty et al. 2017 to propose a minimum confining pressure required to initiate the incipient pulverization in Batista sediments between 1.4 and 2.4 megapascals based on an average sediment density and the depths of the two fault transects. Across the fault, upper transect tonalite displays polygonal fracturing suggestive of a tensile origin, leading Werty et al. 2017 to also discuss the implications of a potential preferred rupture directivity at Rockhouse Canyon. This brings us to questions such as: what is the exact role of confinement and brittle damage in pulverization of poorly consolidated sediments? What does the presence of incipient pulverization say about coseismic stress and strain fields? And can we use this information to tell us anything about long-term preferred directivity on the San Jacinto Fault? To answer these questions, we'll use a modified split Hopkinson pressure bar apparatus. Traditional split bar experiments involve a cylindrical specimen placed between an incident and transmission bar loaded by a gas-powered projectile striker bar. Strain gauges on the incident and transmission bars record strain data and allow us to calculate stress and strain rate data as well. In our experiments, we replaced the traditional specimen with a cylindrical confining cell filled with sediments and plugged on both ends. A third strain gauge, mounted circumferentially on the outer wall of the confining cell, then allows us to calculate the dynamic confining pressure during an experiment. Our approach started with refining this experimental design using clay sand from our laboratory, and now we've transitioned to studying the mechanical response to dynamic loading of Ottawa sand and evaluating experimentally produced damage. Moving forward, we plan to begin this testing process with Batista sediments collected from Rockhouse Canyon. Figures 5D through G show damage produced in Ottawa sand experiments at 50 times magnification, and the colored dots correspond to a given level of visible damage at this magnification. Green represents apparently intact grains, blue represents a moderate concentration of visibly fractured grains, and red represents a concentration of seemingly pulverized grains. In Figure 5A, we plot the peak radial strain rate versus the peak confining pressure and observe a relatively systematic increase in damage state of Ottawa sand with both variables. Similarly, this trend continues in Figure 5B when plotting peak axial strain rate versus peak confining pressure, and in Figure 5C when plotting peak axial strain rate versus axial stress. Through further Ottawa sand experimentation under a broader range of conditions and thin section preparation, we plan to develop a better understanding of the independent constraints imposed by each confining pressure and strain rate. Application of this process to Batista Formation sediments will then work to constrain the potential stress and strain rate characteristics of past rupture events at Rockhouse Canyon and explicitly define the critical confining pressure required to initiate pulverization in Batista Formation sediments. Finally, we plan to conduct split Hopkinson pressure bar radial tension experiments on undamaged tonalite in order to further assess the potential for a preferred rupture directivity along the Clark Fault of the San Jacinto Fault Zone at Rockhouse Canyon.